The woman at the desk slid the papers across to me and said, "Just sign at the yellow tabs, honey, it's all standard." There were 14 yellow tabs. My mother was in a wheelchair beside me, confused, tired, 3 hours out of the hospital. The facility smelled like disinfectant and overcooked vegetables. A phone was ringing somewhere and nobody was answering it, and I had a pen in my hand, hovering over a document I had never seen before, being told by a kind-sounding stranger that it was all standard and I should just sign. I almost did. I want you to remember that phrase, "It's all standard." Because that phrase, said warmly, said helpfully, said by someone who is not trying to hurt you, is how families end up personally, legally responsible for $100,000 of someone else's nursing home debt. If you are the one who handles things for your parents, the one who will be standing at that desk with the pen in your hand, this video is for you. Because I am going to walk you through exactly what is in that stack of papers, exactly which words can make you personally liable, and exactly what to do instead. Not for your mother, not for your father, for you. So that when someone slides 14 yellow tabs across a desk and tells you it's all standard, you know precisely what you are looking at. My name is not important. What matters is that by the end of the next 20 minutes you will know more about nursing home admission agreements than most people who sign them, and you will never be caught the way I almost was. Let me tell you what I have learned. When a parent enters a nursing home, it is almost never a calm, planned event. It happens after a fall, after a stroke, after a hospital stay that ends with a doctor saying the words no family is ready to hear, "She can't go home." And so you find yourself often with no warning in the admissions office of a facility being handed a contract that can run 20, 30, 40 pages long, dense, full of legal language, and they want it signed now, today, before your mother can have the bed. This is the single worst moment to sign a legal document. You are frightened, you are exhausted, you are grieving a version of your parent that is slipping away. And the facility knows this. I am not saying every nursing home is acting in bad faith. Most of the staff are good people doing hard work. But the admission agreement itself is written by the facility's lawyers, and it is written to protect the facility, not you. So let me tell you the 3 things buried in that agreement that you need to find before you sign anything. The first and the most dangerous is a little phrase called responsible party. Here is what you need to understand about those 2 words, because they are the ones that can cost you everything. Somewhere in that agreement there will be a signature line, and next to it, or above it, or buried in a paragraph, 3 pages earlier, the agreement will define what you are agreeing to be when you sign. Sometimes it says responsible party, sometimes guarantor, sometimes financial agent. Sometimes it just describes the role in a dense paragraph without giving it a name at all. And depending on exactly how that role is defined, signing your name can mean one of 2 completely different things. In the safe version, you are simply agreeing to use your parents' own money, their income, their savings, their assets, to pay their nursing home bill. You are a manager of their money. You are not promising your money. If their funds run out, you walk away. That is the version you can live with. In the dangerous version, you are personally guaranteeing the debt. You are telling the nursing home that if your mother cannot pay, you will. Out of your savings, out of your retirement, out of your own home. And nursing home bills run $8, $9, $10,000 a month. Over a year or 2, that is $100,000 or more that a court can come after you for personally because of 2 words you signed under fluorescent lights on the worst day of your life. Now here is the part that will make you angry, and it should. Federal law already protects you from this. It has for years. Under federal nursing home law, a facility that accepts Medicare or Medicaid, which is almost all of them, is prohibited from requiring a third party to personally guarantee payment as a condition of admission. They cannot make you promise your own money to get your mother a bed. It is against federal law, full stop. And yet the responsible party clause appears in admission agreements across the country over and over again, year after year. Why? Because while they cannot require you to guarantee the debt, they can ask you to volunteer for it. And if you sign without understanding what you are signing, the law treats it as though you volunteered. They are not allowed to force the gun into your hand, but if you pick it up yourself because someone told you it was standard, the law lets them use it. There is newer protection too, and you should know about it. In late 2024, federal guidance came out specifically restricting these responsible party clauses, making it clearer than ever that a nursing home cannot hold a family member personally liable simply for signing the admission agreement. and that many of the clauses attempting to do so are unenforceable and in some cases illegal. But here is the hard truth about that protection. It helps you most after you have already been sued. When you are standing in a courtroom with an attorney arguing that the clause was illegal, it does not stop the nursing home from putting the clause in front of you. It does not stop them from pursuing you. And it does not stop the months of stress, legal fees, and fear that come with being chased for a six-figure debt, even one you will probably win. The protection exists, but the best protection is still the simplest one. Don't sign the dangerous version in the first place. So let me tell you exactly what to do. This is the part 1 want you to write down, or save, or send to your brothers and sisters. This is the part that matters. Step 1. If your parent can sign for themselves, let them. This is the single most important thing. The safest signature on a nursing home admission agreement is the resident's own. If your mother is capable of signing, even if she needs help holding the pen, even if it takes a while, she should be the one whose name is on that contract. When the resident signs for themselves, there is no third party for the nursing home to come after. The problem largely disappears. Families skip this because it feels easier to just sign it yourself. Do not skip it. If your parent has the capacity to sign, that is the answer. Step 2. If your parent cannot sign, sign only as their agent and write it down. If your mother genuinely cannot sign because of dementia, because of physical incapacity, and you hold power of attorney, then you can sign on her behalf. But how you sign matters enormously. You do not sign as responsible party. You do not sign as guarantor. You sign as her agent under power of attorney, and you write that explicitly next to your signature. Something like signing solely as agent under power of attorney, not in an individual capacity and not as a personal guarantor. That single line in your own handwriting next to your signature is one of the strongest protections you have. It documents in the moment that you were never agreeing to be personally on the hook. You were only ever acting on your mother's behalf, using your mother's money. Step 3. Cross things out. Yes, you are allowed to. This is the step that surprises people the most. You can edit the agreement if you see the words responsible, party, guarantor, financial agent, or any language that even suggests you are personally responsible for payment. Cross it out. Draw a line through it. Write in agent instead. And if you can, get the nursing home staff member to initial the change. They may push back. They may say you can't edit the form. They may say it's all standard. There's that phrase again. But the reality is that once your parent is admitted, you have far more leverage than they want you to know, because federal law makes it very hard for them to remove a resident over a payment dispute. And even before admission, you can and should try to strike the unfair terms. The worst they can say is no. And if a facility absolutely refuses to admit your parent unless you personally guarantee the debt, that itself may be a violation of federal law, and it is a giant red flag about how that facility treats families. Step 4. Do not let them rush you. Everything about that admissions office is designed to make you sign quickly. The bed is waiting. The staff member has other families to process. Your mother is tired and wants to lie down. There is pressure in the air, and the pressure is pushing you toward the pen. Slow down. You are allowed to say, I'd like to take this home and read it. You are allowed to say, I want my attorney to review this before I sign. You are allowed to sign only the pages that admit your mother for care, and defer the financial pages until you have read them. The care and the contract are two different things, and a facility that provides good care will not throw your mother out because you wanted to read the paperwork first. If someone makes you feel that reading a legal document before signing it is unreasonable, pay attention to that feeling. It is telling you something. Now, I want to talk about the other things hiding in that agreement, because the responsible party clause is the most dangerous, but it is not the only trap. Watch for an arbitration clause. Many admission agreements contain a paragraph saying that any dispute, including disputes about the quality of your mother's care, about neglect, about injury, must be resolved through private arbitration instead of in a court of law. Signing that means giving up your family's right to sue the facility in front of a jury in advance, before anything has even happened. An arbitration clause is not illegal, but you are not required to agree to it. You can cross it out and still have your mother admitted. Watch for a private pay requirement. It is illegal for a nursing home to require a Medicare or Medicaid recipient to pay privately for a period of time as a condition of admission. If the agreement demands that your mother pay out of pocket for 6 months or a year before Medicaid can kick in, that is a violation. Do not accept it. And watch for waiver clauses, language where the facility tries to waive its own responsibility for lost or stolen belongings, or worse, for your mother's health and safety. Some of these waivers are flatly illegal. All of them deserve your scrutiny. Before I tell you how my own story ended, I want to tell you about someone else, because I think her story will stay with you longer than any legal explanation I could give. Her name, I'll call her Diane because she asked me not to use her real one. Diane is 58. She lives in Pennsylvania. And 2 years ago she signed an admission agreement for her father without reading page 9. Her father was a proud man, a retired machinist, and when his kidneys began to fail, he needed skilled nursing care that the family simply could not provide at home. Diane was his only child. She had power of attorney. And when the social worker at the hospital arranged a bed at a facility 40 minutes away, Diane drove over, met a friendly administrator, and signed where she was told. On page 9, she had agreed to be the responsible party, and in Pennsylvania that mattered more than almost anywhere else in the country, because Pennsylvania is one of a number of states that still has something on the books called a filial responsibility law. These are old laws dating back generations that can make adult children financially responsible for the care of a parent who cannot pay. For decades, most people assumed they were dead letters, relics nobody enforced. They are not dead letters. Pennsylvania courts have enforced them. There is a well-known case in that state where a nursing home successfully pursued an adult son for his mother's unpaid bill, nearly $93,000, under exactly this kind of law. When Diane's father passed away with an unpaid balance, the facility came after Diane. Not his estate, Diane, personally, because she had signed as the responsible party and because she lived in a state where the law gave them a second weapon to use against her. She spent 14 months and a great deal of money on an attorney fighting it. She eventually settled for far less than they demanded because the newer federal guidance and the facts of her case were on her side. But 14 months, the stress, the legal bills, the nights she could not sleep, all of it flowing from a signature on a page she did not read, in a role she did not understand, on a day she was too heartbroken to think clearly. I tell you Diane's story for one reason. The rules are not the same in every state. Federal law sets a floor. Nursing homes cannot require you to personally guarantee the debt as a condition of admission anywhere in the country. That protection is national. But on top of that floor, each state builds its own rules, and some of them tilt the ground against families. More than half of us states still have filial responsibility laws on the books. Most do not actively enforce them. A few, Pennsylvania most famously, have. Whether those laws can reach you depends on your state, your circumstances, and increasingly on whether the parent could have qualified for Medicaid, because Medicaid coverage generally takes filial responsibility off the table entirely. This is exactly why getting your parent qualified for Medicaid correctly and on time is not just about paying for care. It is also one of the strongest shields you have against personal liability. When Medicaid is paying the bill, there is no unpaid balance for anyone to chase you for. The single best thing you can do to protect yourself as a family member is to make sure the Medicaid application is done right, done early, and done completely. And it is why in some states the responsible party clause is a minor risk, and in others, like Diane's Pennsylvania, it is a loaded weapon. You cannot know which one you are dealing with unless you slow down, read the agreement, and ideally have an elder law attorney in your own state look at it. Now, what if you are watching this and your heart just dropped because you already signed? You already stood at that desk, you already signed at the yellow tabs, and now you are wondering if you have made a terrible mistake. Take a breath. Here is the honest truth. Signing as a responsible party is not the end of the story. It is not a confession. It does not automatically mean you owe the money. Remember everything we covered. Federal law prohibits nursing homes from requiring personal guarantees. The 2024 federal guidance restricts these clauses further, and in many states a responsible party is only liable if they actually misused the resident's money, if they took mom's savings and spent it on themselves, or failed to apply for Medicaid when they should have. If you have done none of those things, if you have handled your parents' money honestly and applied for the benefits they were entitled to, then even a signed responsible party clause is on very shaky legal ground. So if you have already signed, do 3 things. First, go back and read what you actually signed. Find the exact language because it matters enormously whether it says guarantor or agent. Second, keep meticulous records of every dollar of your parents' money and where it went, because clean records are your best defense. And third, if a facility ever comes after you personally, do not panic and do not pay. Talk to an elder law attorney first, because the law has shifted strongly in favor of families like yours. You may have far more protection than you fear, but you have to know it is there to use it. Let me come back to that day. Me, the pen, the 14 yellow tabs, the woman telling me it was all standard. What I did, and I want you to hear this, because it was the most important thing I did that whole terrible day, is I put the pen down. I said, I'm going to read this first, and her face changed just slightly because that is not what most people say. Most people sign. That is what the whole moment is built for. I read it in a plastic chair in that hallway while my mother dozed beside me, and on page 11 there it was, a clause naming me as the responsible party with language that made me personally liable for any unpaid balance. If I had signed at the yellow tabs like I was told, I would have put my own house on the line for a bill that could have run past $100,000. I crossed it out. I wrote in that I was signing solely as my mother's agent under power of attorney. I asked the woman to initial it. She did, a little reluctantly, but she did, and my mother got her bed and her care, and nothing about crossing out that clause changed the quality of the care she received for one single day. That is the whole point of this channel, not to frighten you, to hand you the pen already knowing what to do with it, because you are going to be standing at that desk one day, if you are not already, and when you are, you will be scared and tired and grieving, and someone kind will slide a stack of papers toward you and tell you it's all standard, and now you will know it is not all standard. Some of it is protection for the facility, written by their lawyers, and some of it can follow you home for the rest of your life if you sign it wrong. Put the pen down, read it, find the words responsible party, and protect yourself the way your parents spent their whole lives protecting you. If this helped you, the best thing you can do is send it to your brothers and sisters, the people who will be standing at that desk with you, or instead of you. Make sure the person in your family who signs those papers is the person who has watched this. And watch the video I made on the Ladybird deed next. Because protecting the house and protecting yourself at admission are two halves of the same job, and the families who get this right do both, before the crisis, not during it. You handle everything. Let me help you handle this part. Stay sharp, stay protected, and protect the people who spent their lives protecting you.